As participants in a society with record levels of stress and anxiety, we must realize that compassion is critical to our mental and physical well-being. It's only through principles of sensitivity and a sense of humanity will we overcome inequalities that persist in our homes, workplace, and in nature. I'm indeed honored to have our next speaker, Sadhvi Saraswati ji, President of Divine Shakti Foundation, Secretary General of Global Interfaith WASH Alliance, and she shares her wisdom on how sustainable ecosystem can ease the suffering of those who struggle with their mental health. It is with great pleasure I would like to welcome Sadhvi ji. Namaskar.
It's so wonderful to be together here today for the Never Alone Summit. It is needed so much every day, and especially right now. As we gather together during Mental Health Awareness Month, we realize that COVID did not cause mental dis-ease, but it has certainly exacerbated it. It has certainly even caused it to manifest in places where it previously lay dormant. And yet, mental dis-ease existed long before COVID, and it will continue to exist long after this pandemic is over. And for that, as we come together today, we really ask ourselves, what is it that as individuals who are suffering and as societies and communities we can do to lessen, and even by God's grace, dare we say eradicate, mental dis-ease. And I say dis-ease rather than disease because so many suffer, not only from diagnosable diseases, not only from those that you would find in the DSM-4R with lists of criteria, but simply from a state, an internal state that is a lack of ease, a lack of peace, a lack of stability, a lack of meaning. And so we look at all of that as well. All of that keeps us from living fully in the awareness of, in the embodiment of our highest, deepest, fullest, most complete, most whole selves. And for that, we need to look at 4 critical components on both personal levels for those who suffer, and on societal and community levels for all of us who live with those who are suffering. Number 1, connection. When we suffer depression, anxiety, addictions, so much of the root of the suffering is the experience of disconnection, the experience of separation. We feel separate. We feel separate from our true selves, our higher selves. We feel separate from God. We feel separate from each other, separate from the creation and the Creator. We feel alone. Here in this beautiful summit, we remind everyone, you are not alone. You are never alone. And yet that experience of feeling alone is such a powerful contributor to mental dis-ease. My favorite joke on this is the man who goes to the doctor complaining that everything hurts. He says, when I touch my head, it hurts. I touch my back, it hurts. I touch my stomach, it hurts. So after every test and scan, the doctor says to the man, well, the good news is there's nothing wrong with your head or your back or your stomach. But the bad news is your finger is broken. And since your finger is broken, whatever you touch, it hurts. But it hurts because of that broken inner connection. And in our lives, as our lives hurt, so much of that pain of existence, of loss, of failure, of fear, of all of that we experience in this human package, this karmic package of being in a body, of fulfilling our particular role and duty in this cosmic divine drama. As we experience those ups and downs, when we are disconnected inside, those ups and downs cause us to suffer deeply and greatly. When the world does not behave according to what we want, how we want, we suffer deeply and greatly. So number one, connection. For those who are suffering, but also for those of us in the communities, in the societies, to remember they are not alone. In Hinduism, we say, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. It means the world is a family. Jesus Christ said so beautifully, love thy neighbor as thyself. Well, in order to do that, you have to be able to see thy neighbor as thyself. So our religious traditions, whatever they may be, our spiritual traditions, whichever they may be, remind us we are not separate. We are one. One divine manifestation, one global family. And out of that connection blossoms compassion. Compassion from the societies, the communities, to reach out across that chasm, across the gap, to reach out with hands and hearts to those who are suffering, so that they do not suffer alone, or suffer in silence, or suffer in shame and stigma. We reach out with our love, with our assistance, in whatever we can do to create compassionate societies, in our companies, in our businesses, in our schools, in every aspect of our society, to really embrace those who are suffering. In the same way that we reach out for those who are physically challenged, we reach out to those who are suffering mentally. And for those who are suffering, compassion is just as important. Compassion for yourself. Compassion for what you have been through, for your struggles, for how you are doing your very best with the toolbox you've been given. And compassion, of course, for your higher self, that capital S self, that true self, just waiting for you to know it, experience it, live it, accept the invitation to live in that awareness, to be able to exhale and let go of the grudges, of the attachments, of the fear, of the ego, of the expectations. And compassion for however long it takes you to do that. And we need courage. Courage is the third C. Courage to reach out and get help. whether it's a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a spiritual leader, a meditation teacher, a mentor, whomever it is in whatever capacity, reach out. Help is there. There is nothing to be ashamed of, nothing to feel less than or bad about. Grab that help. You are worth it. Help is there for you. And for those of us in the communities and societies, let us have the courage to envision and then implement new ways of being in our societies that provide more and more, easier and easier, more and more accessible help for those who are suffering. Remembering in our open-hearted courage that they are one with us, that there is no other. They are also self. And lastly, creativity. Creativity to envision, to innovate, to implement new ways of being in our societies, in our communities, to help both prevent and also mitigate the suffering from mental dis-ease, better community cohesion, better mental health programs in our schools, in our workplaces. And for those who are suffering, the courage to be creative in how you think about yourself, the thoughts that you jump on as vehicles that take you to more misery. Can you instead jump on thoughts of courage, of compassion, that will help you take the steps that you need to truly unfold into that beautiful, fragrant flower with its petals open to the sun that you are? Such deep gratitude to the Chopra Foundation, to the Hinduja Foundation, to the alchemic sonic environment for bringing all of us together today and reminding us that we are all one. We are deeply connected. So much love to all of you at this special time.